All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're basically cracking open a corporate matryoshka doll. You know those, right? The Russian nesting dolls where you open one and boom, there's another one hidden inside, and then another inside of that? Well, we're taking that exact concept and applying it to the corporate world today to figure out who's actually pulling the strings behind some of the most famous brands you see on store shelves literally every single day.
So, let me start off by asking you a pretty straightforward question. Who really controls your everyday consumer goods? I mean, when you're walking down the supermarket aisle and you toss a familiar packet of biscuits or snacks into your cart, who is actually cashing in? As we're going to see, the brand printed on the box, yeah, that's rarely the end of the story. It's kind of like a giant puzzle, and it shows exactly why it's so absolutely crucial to peel back the layers of modern business.
Part 1. The modern FMCG powerhouse Britannia Industries.
Okay, so if you follow the fast-moving consumer goods sector at all, you already know Britannia. It is a beloved blue-chip giant. I mean, we're talking about a massive financial footprint with a century-old legacy. They were founded way back in 1892. Fast forward to today, and they are actively traded on the major exchanges, both the BSE and the NSE. And get this, they are a key constituent of the prestigious Nifty 50 index with an approximate weightage of 0.92% as of 2023. So yeah, it's an absolute powerhouse. But here's the catch. Who gets to take home the biggest slice of the pie from this massive wealth generator?
Part 2. The hidden holding company. Let's peel back that first layer.
All right, so we're transitioning from the household name, the biscuit maker, to the much lesser-known entity that's actually running the show. The majority owner of Britannia, it's not some generic mutual fund, and it's not a widespread mix of everyday retail investors. Now, it's a company called the Bombay Burmah Trading Corporation, or BBTC. They hold a commanding 50.5% majority stake in Britannia. To put that in perspective, that's over 12.17 crore equity shares. They are, quite literally, the ultimate puppet masters here.
But wait, what exactly is BBTC? Because the contrast between its past and its present is it's absolutely fascinating. So BBTC was actually formed way back in 1863 by the Wallace brothers of Scotland, and their original business, colonial Burmese teak and tea. Jump to today, though, and it's a modern publicly traded holding company listed on both the BSE and NSE, quietly wielding control over a vast consumer goods empire.
And honestly, this is just an amazing piece of financial history. BBTC isn't just any old holding company. It is India's absolute oldest publicly traded company. It's standing at an incredible 163 years old today. Just think about that for a second. This single company has navigated through 2 centuries, global conflicts, the independence of a nation, and today, it just sits quietly in the background, anchoring the consumer goods you buy every single week.
Part 3. India's oldest business dynasty, the Wadia Group.
Now, to find the ultimate controller of this whole web, the real matryoshka doll at the very center, we have to look past BBTC itself to its owner, India's oldest business dynasty, the Wadia Group. They hold a massive nearly 66% stake in BBTC. And when you map out the historical longevity of this corporate empire, it's pretty mind-blowing. The foundation of this whole thing was laid all the way back in 1736 with the founding of the Wadia Group. Then, over a century later, in 1863, BBTC was established, which the Wadia Group eventually acquired. And finally, in 1892, Britannia was founded. So the control of a modern FMCG giant today literally traces all the way back to a corporate lineage that started in 1736. Wild, right?
Part 4. Governance and SEBI settlement, the modern complication.
But look, having an ancient, centuries-old heritage doesn't magically exempt a holding company from strict, modern, regulatory scrutiny. Actually, under their current chairman, Nusli N. Wadia, the group recently had to navigate a bit of a modern complication. In January 2025, BBTC and its promoters agreed to pay 2.13 crore rupees to settle regulatory proceedings with SEBI, that's the Securities and Exchange Board of India.
So what was the core of this settlement all about? Well, SEBI alleged there were some lapses in disclosures relating to shareholding changes and related party transactions. Specifically, the regulator pointed to the classification of an entity, Wallace Brothers Trading and Industrial Ltd., as a public shareholder, despite its connections to the promoter group. SEBI noted this indirectly triggered requirements for an open offer, which is essentially a mandatory requirement to offer to buy shares from the broader public, and they said those weren't complied with at the time. Now, it's really important to clearly state here that BBTC and its associated parties settled this matter by paying the fee completely without admitting or denying the regulator's findings. That officially concluded the proceedings.
So what does this all mean for us?
The crucial takeaway from this incredibly deep corporate structure is the inherent tension between the old world and the new. We've just traced a direct line from a dynasty founded in 1736 through colonial tea traders in 1863, right down to the modern biscuit manufacturers sitting on the nifty 50 today. But as that recent SEBI settlement clearly highlights, modern financial markets demand relentless, uncompromising transparency, which leaves us with a fascinating, kind of lingering thought to close out this explainer. How can these multi-century heritage business dynasties successfully adapt their incredibly complex, historical corporate structures to the strict transparency demanded by today's markets? It's a massive tension, and one that's for sure going to shape the future of these legacy giants. Thanks so much for joining me today, and hey, the next time you pick up a familiar brand, ask yourself, what Matryoshka doll am I really opening?